Hey there everybody! The purpose of this video is to get us some Groundhog's Day answers to this percentages quiz here. So we look at Punxsutawney Phil here. He has seen his shadow 102 times. He has not seen his shadow 17 times. So in all, we have 102 plus 17. If I'm doing the math right, that's 119 observations of our experiment. Okay, so we have 119 total times we have data for Punxsutawney Phil. Okay, so my question was, based on the above results, what percentage of the time has he seen his shadow? So right here it tells you there's 102, I even counted them for you so you didn't have to. 102 times he's seen it. So for number one, it's 102 out of the 119. And then if you want to multiply that by 100 to change it to a percentage, that's totally fine. Let me do that. My computer is off. We're going to lose power here in Grandview in a second, but I have my handy-dandy pocket phone. So 102 divided by 119, I get, rounded to the nearest whole percentage, 86%. So 86% of the time, Phil sees his shadow. Phil sees his shadow 86% of the time. Okay, let me see the lights. Is this better? Is that easier? That might be easier to see. You get the natural light. This way when the power goes off, we don't have to worry about it. Good. How about the percentage of time he hasn't? Well, I mean, there's a couple ways you can do this. I think the easiest way is to realize that 100% of the time he either does or he doesn't. If he does 86% of the time, that means he doesn't the other 14% of the time. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so either does or he doesn't. If he does 86, he doesn't 14. So if you think about it in terms of like mathematics, 5 out of 6 times he sees his shadow, whatever that means, and I don't know what that means. I don't think anybody really does. I think it's just an excuse for those people in Pennsylvania to get drunk. Okay, so that was the first part of the quiz. The second part of the quiz analyzes it more carefully, because what the National Oceanic and Aeronautical Administration, NOAA, has done is they actually looked at not the entire 119 records. They only had 30, if I remember correctly, 30 records of Phil, whether he saw a shadow or not, and from that they decided whether or not winter came early. And that's the data on the back of your homework here. So I put you in a table. Did he see his shadow? Yes or no? Did the U.S. get an early spring? Yes or no? So the thing about it is Phil can be right or he can be wrong, and he can be right in 2 ways and wrong in 2 ways. He can see his shadow and be correct. That would be, we got an early spring when he saw his shadow. That's this 11 up here. Then excuse me, that was being wrong. Excuse me, that was being wrong. If he sees his shadow and we get an early spring, he's wrong. If he sees his shadow and we don't get an early spring, he's right. So there's 4 things that can happen here. It's all explained on the quiz. So in number 3, I said, what percent of the time was Phil correct? Now, correct, he can be correct by seeing his shadow and not getting an early spring, or by not seeing his shadow and getting an early spring. Hopefully that makes sense. There's 2 ways. So if you look at all 30 outcomes, there are 17 ways when he's correct. And 17 out of 30, if I do this in my head, that's going to be about 3, so 6 up. I'm going to call that 36%, but let's see, or excuse me, not 36%, 56%. Let's just see how close I got. Sorry, I want to get it correct for y'all. 57%, not bad, Sean. 57% of the time, Phil is correct, which means the rest of the time he's wrong. 43% of the time he's wrong. Okay, so 57% of the time correct, 43% of the time he's wrong. And that's kind of where the main part of the quiz, or the main part of the homework stopped. Now, number 5, I asked you a question that most of you got wrong, so I didn't take off points. If you got it right, I gave you extra credit. Is Phil more often correct when he sees his shadow or when he doesn't? So I'm going to go ahead and answer this for you now, because I've got another homework assignment where I re-ask it for you for next class. So if you watch this video, all 2 of you, you'll understand how to answer that question. So my question now is, there's 2 ways he can be correct. He can be correct when he sees his shadow, or he can be correct when he doesn't. Correct when he sees his shadow means that we didn't get an early spring. Let me hold this closer so you can see. So correct when he sees his shadow and we don't get an early spring, that's correct. But also when he doesn't see his shadow and we do get an early spring. Those are the two ways of being correct. So my question was, how many percentage points higher or lower is he when he does or doesn't see it? Let's look at the yes case first. Yes, he did see his shadow. Well, how many times did he see his shadow? If you look at the table, he saw it 11 times here and 10 times here, so 21 total times. Of those 21 total times, he was only correct 10 times out of the 21. In the bottom one, the no, he didn't see his shadow 9 total times in that, over those 30 years. 9 total times. Was he correct 7 times out of that 9? So this is the fraction of the time he was correct when he did see his shadow. Here's the fraction of the time he was correct when he didn't. So the question is, which one of those is bigger? And hopefully it doesn't take you very long to figure out. That number is less than a half. That number is way bigger than a half. So he is more often correct when he doesn't see his shadow, percentage-wise and data-wise. So that's pretty much all there is to it. I mean, it's just a matter of looking at what number you're dividing by. It goes from 119 to 30 and then to different numbers over here, but that's because the questions change. This is, does he see a shadow? This over here is he right or wrong? And then down here is he right or wrong if he sees a shadow or not? So you're getting more, it's getting more specific as we work our way down. And this is what the whole study of statistics is all about anyway. So, hope that helped. We'll catch you in class. See ya.